Richmond City Council for Tuesday, May 23rd, 2023 to order. May I have a motion on the minutes?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. Madam Clerk, agenda additions and deletions.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have one agenda addition. This will be noted as item 12A, and this is the road closure and removal of road dedication bylaw number 10459. And this bylaw relates to item 12 on the agenda.
All right, may I have a motion on the agenda with that change?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right, may I have a motion to resolve in the committee of the whole to hear delegations on items on the agenda?
So moved.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. We have one pre-registered delegate. Karina Reed wants to delegate on item number 8. She here? She here. Please come forward, introduce yourself, and you know the time limit is 5 minutes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karina Reed, a Steveston, Richmond resident, and here to talk about the flag policy and the changes to the flag policy. Really excited to see this moving forward. I wanted to sort of just talk about like the timeline with the flag policy. Pride Month is June. And I also know that the Delta City Council worked with the Every Child Matters organization to have a special flag created. And I know that can take time, so I hope things move forward tonight. But I just really am talking in favor of that. Yes, like having a flag, Pride flag, Every Child Matters flag is a great symbol, and also like the symbol comes action and work. So just calling that once this is passed, hopefully, that action starts happening and getting these flags in place in Richmond, because showing our solidarity sooner than later would be great. Thank you very much.
Well, yeah, we're updating the policy, and if it goes through, it's effective immediately. Councillor Wolf, you have a question?
Yes. Thank you. General purposes, we had asked when the temporary flagpole would be installed, and we were told July 31st. Would that meet some of the Pride events in August?
Yeah. I believe the City of Richmond Pride Week is July. Is that correct?
I think, Councillor, I think the answer was it would be done before Pride Week in July.
Okay, I heard 31st.
But the City of Delta, just so that you know, they actually got special permission from the Every Child Matters Society to create a flag of that size, and then they went to a flag company and got it printed. So it does take time. So I guess for me, I just wanted to like really kind of reiterate like the time part.
Right, we have it. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other, no, thank you. Are there any other people who wish to delegate on items that are on the agenda?
Move revise and report.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, opposed, carried. That brings us to the consent agenda now. Number 9, the Hamilton matter, Smith Road. Councillor Wolf has asked that that be removed from the consent agenda, so we'll deal with that right after the consent agenda. So the consent agenda items include receipt of committee minutes, the business regulation bylaw 7538, and the amendment bylaw for 4411 number 3 road unit 111. We have the updated flag policy 1306. The land use application, as I say, is now off the agenda. We have ICBC City of Richmond Road Improvement Program and Intersection Safety Camera Program, the 2023 update. And we have this 2023 submission to the Disaster Mitigation and Adaptation Fund, the Richmond Flood Protection Program. May I have a motion to adopt those by general consent?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Councillor Liu, just a minute, let me. Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. On the updated flag policy on page CNCL 79, would it be friendly just to adjust it to say and or Paralympic, Canadian Olympic and or Paralympic flag? and then same thing on CNCL 81? Or should I
just
take it
a
off
minute.
the consent
No,
agenda?
just a minute. This is 3.7 on page 79. Is that where you're talking about, or where?
79, and it talks about the 3.7.
Yeah,
The city of Richmond may choose to
Right.
display the Canadian Olympic flag at the Richmond
okay.
Oval.
And where
So,
else?
Also on CNCL 81, it says Canadian Olympic flag, official flag of the Canadian
And
Olympic
so
Committee.
it would,
So if we
on
just,
81, we would add on the Paralympic,
yeah,
is there a Paralympic Committee? Is that what it's called?
the Canadian Paralympic Committee, and there's a Canadian Olympic Committee.
I would think both those are by consent friendlies. Anybody got an objection to that? Okay, so
Thank you.
consider that's done.
Thank you. I apologize for not bringing it up sooner.
Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will be supporting everything that remains on the consent agenda. I'll just speak to a few of them. First off, in the committee minutes, the fourth one there is the Public Works Transportation Committee. I just wanted to highlight that committee gave support for direction of staff to catalog traffic improvements in the Hamilton area, because there's kind of a feeling like a bit of a piecemeal patchwork going on as there all these projects in different stages, and also to look at speed limits and speed. Reducing speed potential infrastructure in areas around Westminster Highway, which does a S-curve right through Hamilton. The next item I'd like to speak to is item number 8, and just again to highlight the Truth and Reconciliation Day as well in September, so the flagpole will be installed by then, and great note from the delegate tonight to also encourage we order those flags in advance, much more in advance. Item number 10. Number 10 is the one about ICBC and City of Richmond Road Improvement Program. I just wanted to direct attention for those interested. On page 152 and 153 are where the improvement projects are listed for the coming year, if approved tonight. And also, if anyone who attended the Public Works Open House a couple weeks ago, you were maybe able to check out one of many booths that included the traffic video camera technology and the LED large street names to get a kind of a handle on what those improvements will look and feel like. Finally, item number 11, that's the submission for funding for flood protection program. So it is for the number 6 Road North Drainage Pump Station, but council, I don't think it's in the package here, I didn't find it. We did find out that the 4.6 kilometers of dike improvement that would also go ahead with this 35.6 million project would also include areas around Sea Island Dike, around Cessna Drive and Lysander Lane, as well as parts of the North Dike near Terra Nova and River Road close to Nelson Road. So those areas are what are anticipated in that larger project. And with that, I'll support all the consent agenda items. Thanks.
All right, thank you. No one else on the speakers list, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? That is carried. That brings us to what was the item 9 that was removed from the consent agenda. And we'll go to Councillor McNulty as the Chair of Planning to introduce this.
Thank you, Worship. The matter of number 9 is an application asking Hamilton Properties Corp. For the rezoning at 4651, 71, and 91 Smith Crescent, 23, 301, 321, 361, 381 Gilly Road, from a single detached RSF1 zone to Neighborhood Residential Limited Commercial Zone, ZMU 53 Neighborhood Village Center, Hamilton Zone. And the bylaw 10452 would be changed to redesignate said properties listed and redesignate again a portion of Smith Crescent, and to amend the schedule in the official community plan. And with that, then follow all the statutes of the city and the regional district. I would then introduce it and give it first reading, so I would so move.
Moved and seconded, go ahead. Did
Yeah,
want to
thank you,
discuss it?
Worship. This is an application that basically is long and overdue and welcomed in Hamilton for a number of reasons, but I'll quickly highlight. We're looking in this development at 186 dwelling units, which includes 167 strata units, but 19 low-end market rental units, which will be built and filled before any of the others are done. We're looking 5-story buildings to blend in with the buildings that are already there on Gilly Road. For those who've been out there, there's a Hamilton High, there's a health department, and they will all fit into that unit and in that particular block. But more importantly, a number of us known for a number of years that this development would be the one that would give a long-awaited community police office that we have, a number of us around the table have been promising for a number of years, knowing it, and it's finally going to come to fruition. The RCMP have done a magnificent job out there already, but we haven't given them a destination point, and we haven't helped their cause anyhow to continue to give that community the safety that it deserves within the parameters of the RCMP. So I'm very pleased to see it. The application, Your Worship, meets all the standards, is generous. It follows in the affordable housing strategy. It follows the statutes in terms of rental unit sizes and the strata housing as well, the number of 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms and also single rooms to help and increase everything in Hamilton. I think as others know, in Hamilton, the whole shopping center out there is being redone, and right across the street is this potential development. So I see no reason why it shouldn't go forward with bells on it, and hope the council will support it unanimously, because this is the kind of development we want, not only in Hamilton, but we'd like to see in all of Richmond. So with that, Your Worship, I'll leave it to your chairmanship.
Thank you. Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. A few comments on this. I did attend the planning committee meeting and made some comments then. And some of those comments will be restated now in my opposition of this project. And it's not the whole project. It's not really, I don't know, maybe only 10% of the project I have concern for, so I'll get to that shortly. I'm also a resident in the area, so I'm very familiar with the project to the west, and I'm very aware of issues that residents, neighbors of mine speak of in this area. For one, it really is a change in the landscape of Richmond. Having a high street makes, I learned during the winter months that cars couldn't get over the high street and pedestrians couldn't use the high street pedestrian pathways because they were too steep and icy. And also a number of the components of the sidewalks are uneven. It's only been built like 2-3 years ago, and there's lots of kind of hazards of it. So I did raise some concern, as it was mentioned in the report, that the landscaping would kind of match this development that's already in place. But there's lots of concerns in regards to that for the residents and those who currently use places like Paulo's Pizza and Randy's Hair Salon. The other concern related to the project, the main one I had, is the tree protection. And yes, as was mentioned, this abides by all the city policies and strategies somewhat, or perhaps there's some of the parts of them are outdated. Because to have a development like this to come in, assess that there's 59 mature trees, and all 59 are going to go. We're not talking about any of the hedges. We're not talking about any of the other vegetation. We're not talking about the ditches and the habitat that provides for frogs and others. But they're supposed to plant, according to our bylaws, 118 trees. They're only putting 60 on site. The other ones, where they end up, we'll never know. And the fact that we allow another large development like this to get away with removing some of the most significant trees in a neighborhood. You can look on the map on page 117 or 118, 118 shows where all the trees are that are going to be removed, and 117 kind of show the new landscaping for the area. And you just have to overlap them a little bit to see that all the significant trees that run the length of Smith Crescent, especially the ones closer to Gilly, go out there if you haven't seen them yourself. They're magnificent trees. This development has actually done preloading on previously did preloading on the tree protection area and had to remove that stuff. So it makes it look to the neighborhood that the developer doesn't care to abide by the current rules, such as protect the area underneath the tree canopy. And so they had to remove it. So it's almost like it's guaranteed, because we're approving projects like this every council meeting. And until there's some major OCP amendments, perhaps, I'm going to have to continue to raise this issue so it can be heard by enough councillors so that by the time we can get to some revisions, we might actually make a way to do what it says on our page 118, which is the tree retention and protection detail. Well, there's nothing being retained and there's nothing being protected. So it's a bit of a spoof in that regard. I would just again highlight that if you look at where the new vegetation is going to go, it could provide that buffer up for the existing trees that are there. We're in a climate emergency. We could use some shade when it comes to the hot season coming ahead, and we're going to lose all these trees. We're going to put 60 stick trees in its place. If you just look at the development to the west, there's no significant trees coming out of that ground because it's all compact and there's no room for them. So with that said, we'll highlight some positives because it wasn't mentioned by the chair or the last speaker. But the community police office is going to be 130 meters squared. That matches what Steveston or South Arm have, which is great. Albeit it's only a bit of a storefront as opposed to some of the other services that could have been added in there, because we are talking about roughly 15 kilometers away from where we are right now. So perhaps some level of expansion would have been great, but this does provide amenities above and beyond what the developer is required to do. So there's a positive there. A number of people are concerned that the Garapi Road that's going to continue on and connect with Smith Crescent, that it would cause traffic congestion. But we did learn at committee that Smith Crescent is going to be able to be continuous through, and only Garapi will have a stop sign. Of the units that are being built, 51% of them, I think, are family-friendly units, which is a positive. We're able to allow setbacks, although we're not really doing it so much on the ground level to save trees, but we're doing a bit of a height adjustment. So by allowing this extra amenity, we're allowing them to build higher over that portion of the building, which is great. The developer is also meeting step code 3 and doing a low carbon building energy system, because this is far too long of a distance to connect with the existing Lulu Island Energy Company facilities and infrastructure. So with all that said, it'd be also nice to have more lemur units, but we're not getting them. So there we go. Thanks.
Councillor Galanders.
Thank you. I have a question for staff on this proposal. I'm just curious. They were allowed height variances for the other facilities. Was the developer offered any height variances in order to possibly retain some significant trees?
Through the chair, through your worship to Councillor Galanders, in terms of the tree retention, our first position is always to look at the quality of the trees, right? The form of this development too, and the nature of the Hamilton area does lead itself to a full parkade along the bottom level with built form and units above that. So in terms of answering your question overall, we did look at what was possible for this area, but the additional height was given solely to deal with the additional floor area associated with the community policing office.
So because of the nature of the development and the way the parkade has to be, there are no opportunities to possibly retain any significant trees? Nothing that could be done during the DP stage just to see if things can be worked around a little bit?
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right. Councillor Day.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Well, I'm really happy to see this five-story unit building that has 186 units, 19 of which are in Lemur. I think that we're going in the right direction with this, and I was really pleased to see that the police station is going to be on the roadway. Initially, I thought it was in the amenity building, but it's actually going to be out where people can see it. So I'm also sad that we couldn't save at least one or two of the trees, given that they're in the same location. But I guess we got to find homes for people, not necessarily homes for trees, so I'll support it.
All right. With that, I'm going to call the question on the motion. All those in favor? Those opposed? It is carried with Councillor Wolf opposed. That brings us to the items already off the consent, 12 and 12A. We'll go to Councillor McNulty to introduce these items.
Thank you, Worship. The next item that we have on the agenda is the application by Topstream Management for a rezoning at 86, 35, 55, 75, and 95 Cook Crescent, and the surplus portion of the Spires Road and Cook Road Crescent allowance from the single detached RS1E to townhomes housing ZT 103, the parking structure townhouses in Spire Road and the Cook Crescent. And the zoning all falls within that. The bylaw will be changed to 10465 to create this townhouse housing, and I would so move to give it first reading.
Moved and seconded.
Again, Your Worship, this is another development within the Spires Road with regard to townhouses. Right now, we have a number of developments going on there, and this follows all the statutes within the system that we have. And at the moment, they are giving up a right-of-way area. They're giving up area for a walkway. They're giving up for some green space, some very valuable land, actually. And that land, in exchange for down the road, the city will sell that off and allow the development, another development to the north. So this follows right within it. This came in before, basically, we changed the Spires Road policy, which now, staff can correct me, but allows for a possible choice of putting condos in there. It allows for towers under condition conditions that we have put forward if a developer wishes to go. But this developer chose to go ahead with the townhouses that are there, and it fits all the statutes of the city and is contributing. When I look at it, the affordable housing strategy is almost $750,000 in terms of that, plus other contributions. But probably more importantly is the pedestrian linkage, because he's given up property. And property is a lot more, the value of property anywhere in Richmond right now. So I think the developer's given his pound of flesh for this particular development. Wish him well.
All right, Councillor Day.
Thank you very much. Lucky for you, I lost my notes. Okay, I voted against this in Planning Committee because it's just plain not good enough for the area. Thanks, Laura. What really concerns me is that the Spires Road area is really close to the SkyTrain station. And if there ever was a place to build a building like the one we just approved in Hamilton, this is it. You could have gone higher density. We could have had more affordable units to buy and to rent. Instead, we're going to go from 4 more affordable homes to 27 homes that are not affordable. And these luxury townhouses, there'll be 4 that are 3 levels high, 14 that are 4 levels high, and 7 that are 4 levels high with a suite. Hardly entry housing. This is going to put a lot more people out of the market. Had we just held on to this until June 20th of this year, we could have fought for the extra units that Councillor McNulty just informed us about. But we're giving in again, and I understand that staff did their best to try to convince this developer to come back with something that was more in line with what we need as a city, but they refused. So this was the best that they could do, was getting these little suites. So this is the most valuable land, and I would love to see it come back with a better development that has smaller units that are more affordable for entry-level people to buy and to rent. So I will once again be voting against this.
Councillor Wolf.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to echo a few of those past comments from Councillor Day. I know it abides by our requirement because it was grandfathered in at the last second there. And yeah, I was hoping for this area so close to the city center to have a higher density. My wishes aren't always granted, I know. So that's the case here. I also know this area well, and we have dedicated a region just northwest of this to be the future park, but there was no opportunity to have any council decision on where the park would be, but this would have been my choice. This is the area with the highest density of tree canopy, in my mind. So this project, we're going to see of the 38 trees assessed, 33 of them gone. They're supposed to plant 66. They're only putting 37 in. It's great that we're getting this gift of triangular portion of land for future development. And so it's going to be somewhat of a passive outdoor amenity space, but it's also going to be construction staging area. And I can imagine it'll go from construction staging area for this to construction staging area for the next. So really there'll be very unlikely true amenity space for the residents. If we were able to densify and build taller, we could provide more of that green space that people in city centers all over the world need better access to. So that's unfortunate. Thanks.
Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Worship. I will be supporting this project. I think a lot of us ran on transparency and accountability when we ran for council. And to me, that means we evaluate a project based on the rules in place at the time of the application. It doesn't mean that we extort the developers by stalling the project to wait until we come up with new rules or hit the timeline where the new rules come into effect. Just the same as we don't stall people's application for a school until we decide some new level of grades that they need to get. This project meets what they've been asked to do. They probably would have put in more separate units if we would have relaxed the parking more. So the reason it's only the number of units it is because it's only so many parking spots, and each separate unit has to have a parking, and the larger units have to have 2 parking spots. So we're kind of limited on that. The new rules that come into place will allow different things to happen, but I think we need to look at the project based on the rules in place at the time and not be changing the rules and moving goalposts around or anything else. We wouldn't do that to the kids out on the soccer pitch, and we shouldn't do this here.
I just want to note, I think instead of extort, you might have meant pressure. Since extortion is a criminal offense. So we don't pressure. No, actually, she didn't. So I'm going to call the question. Oh, so you are. Thank you. Councillor Galanders.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this application came in around April 2022, from what I understand. As council at the time was in the process of discussing rental tenure zoning in the Spires Road neighborhood and had been discussing it for some time. So I think the developers went into it with eyes wide open, that's what council wants for this area is rental housing. We changed the rules, and as of June, that's the zoning of the neighborhood. And the reason why we have that is because 30% of our population rents, as it stands right now. Plus, we have around 30,000 workers that commute to Richmond every day because they cannot afford to live here, and we have the 3rd highest rents in the Lower Mainland. And the housing that we've been building for the last couple decades have averaged out to about 6% rental. We need to get that up to 25, or 30, or more. So in order to meet our housing needs, we have to do this, and it has to be in areas close to transit. So we've identified that this area is the area where we will want large density rental housing. So we're under no obligation to approve every application that comes through. This is a new application. I think I'd probably feel a little differently if it had been in process since 2019, like many things that have come across our table. It's, they've worked really hard at this, and we changed the rules on them. It's understandable to let it go through. But this is a very new application. The writing was on the wall. That's not what council wants in this area. 6 people at this council table had no issue with changing the use of the Steveston waterfront from residential to no residential, even though a developer had purchased it many, many years ago and had redesigned according to changes that we made back in 2018 regarding heights and FAR. And we had 6 people on this council had no issue changing the rules to no residential on this person. So I don't see anything controversial about council saying this isn't the type of project we want here. This is a rezoning. Staff had to bring it to us because it met the criteria at the time, so they have no reason to not bring it to us. But that doesn't mean that it's recommended. That doesn't mean it's something that's going to be good for Richmond. That we only have so much land that's close to the city center, and we're obligated to build the type of housing that we need, which we've identified as rental housing there. When I've heard other councillors talk about the housing continuum and the need for more townhouses, I absolutely agree with that. We need more townhouses, and we need all different levels of housing. In this particular area, we have decided that we need rental housing because it's so close to transit. And I also, just looking at CNCL 199, I'm looking at all the trees that are going to be removed. Almost all of them. There's less than 10 that are being retained and dozens that are being removed, including every single Douglas fir tree, including ones that have 90 centimeter diameter. And, when we build a rental building, when we build a tower and build more density, the parking can all be underneath the building, and the building goes up. You could have 3 levels of parking and then 9 floors of housing, and we could save more of the footprint to save more trees. So I say, sorry, this isn't what council wants in this area, so you can either build some rental housing or you can sell it to someone who will. And there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Councillor Al.
Your Worship, I'm going to support this project. I noticed that this is a very interesting project in the sense that they have some units as small as 655 square feet and as big as 3,200 square feet. So I think this is a range of unit sizes, and I think that's a good thing. And also the fact that they have 7 4-level townhouses with a secondary suite. Again, that can provide another kind of affordable housing for the people or for renters. Now, I understand that we would like to have more density in this area and to change the use into multifamily apartments. However, I think we have the rule to follow, the fact that we have the grandfathering clause for this project, and I think we have to follow that. Otherwise, that makes the grandfathering clause meaningless. And I also understand that people are saying that they like townhouses more because the management fees for apartments are relatively higher. I think probably because they have more public areas to share. So in a sense, townhouses may not be that unaffordable as some people might perceive. So I find this project to be interesting, and it provides a variety of different sizes of units, and with 7 units with secondary suites. I think this is actually a good project.
Okay, with that, we're going to call the question. All those in favor? Those opposed? That is carried with Councillors Galanders, Day, and Wolf opposed. And back to Councillor McNulty for the subsequent resolution.
Thank you, Worship. This is a corollary to the previous one. It's a road closure and removal of a road dedication bylaw, which is 10459, a portion of the road adjacent to 8635, 5575, and 95 Cook Crescent, and the disposition of closed road area in relation to RZ 2201 to 2904. And the recommendations, and I'll read them because they are statutes. The road closure and removal of dedication road of 10459 and of the said that I on Cook be introducing first and second and third readings. The required notice of road closure and disposition of the closed road be advertised prior to final adoption. Third corollary, the staff be authorized to file a certifying statement executed by the corporate officer at the land title office and canceling the right-of-way resumption in the closed road pursuant to the resumption of the highways regulation. And number 4, the staff be authorized to take all necessary steps to raise title to the road closure area totaling 213.2 square meters, and then transfer them to 137759-1 BC Limited, or its designated, for $665,000 plus applicable taxes. And the staff be authorized to take all the other steps in all matters as contained in the title report, road closures, et cetera, at said addresses on Cook Crescent and the disposition of the road as stated earlier in April 1923, including authorization from the financial officers to negotiate, execute documentation required to effect all transactions, including executing all the required land title office documentation, and I would so move.
Moved and seconded. Did you wish to make further
No,
comments?
Your Worship, this transfers the land to us that I spoke earlier in the application. It also allows them to have that piece of land at the frontage so that they can carry it on out. It also gives us a walkway that the city would need. So this is the legal portion of it before there's any further development and taken to public hearing.
All right, I'm going to call the question then on the motion. Okay, Councillor Galanders, I didn't think you had your hand up.
Sorry, thank you. I just want to make sure I know what I'm voting on. I'm just confused. Is this the CNCL 220 is the report for this? It's this
No,
one,
no, it comes out of closed.
this thing?
This came from close tonight.
All right. Okay, so we'll call the question then. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried with Councillors Day and Wolf opposed. Brings us to public announcements and events. First of all, also coming out of closed is the discussion about the delegation visit to Japan to celebrate the 50th sister city anniversary with Wakayama so the actual visit for official purposes, June 15th to 18th. It would be the mayor, Councillor Al, Councillor McNulty, the CAO, the staff liaison to the Sister City Advisory Committee, the committee chair, and a translator. And then the following individuals are approved to attend the delegation visit to Japan for the purpose of ship recruitment from June 13th to 15th, and that's Councillor Al McNulty, the CAO, and the translator. Also coming out of the closed council meeting, Cindy Lardon was appointed as the Vancouver Coastal Health representative to the Richmond Accessibility Advisory Committee for a 2-year term to expire December 31st, 2024. And regarding legislative changes to land use and planning responsibilities, a letter will be addressed to the Premier of British Columbia and the Minister of Housing, as well as the local MLAs, providing early feedback on the new provincial housing strategy, Homes for People, requesting that the province have meaningful consultation with and provide capital funding to support local governments. In a more general sense, we have My Richmond app. The city has launched a new version of My Richmond app to give residents quick and secure access to a range of city programs and services. Available for iOS and Android devices, users can view and pay property taxes and utilities, register for programs and classes at community centers, and submit service requests, among other things. You can download the new My Richmond app from the Apple Store and Google Play Store. Then we have a community challenge. June marks the return of the annual Participation Community Challenge, a month-long initiative to get people moving and connecting with each other through physical activity. Richmond was named BC's most active community last year, and we hope to claim that honor again. To participate, download the Participation app and start to track your exercise movements. For more information, visit the city website. Then we have Doors Open Richmond. This free event returns in person January 3rd and 4th. Remember, we've had it during the COVID years, mostly, but it was an online event. So now it's going to be in person. Residents and visitors are invited to explore 39 diverse locations and civic services around Richmond that showcase our cultural diversity and our heritage. People can take a behind-the-scenes tour of our city's most popular museums, the art studios, the faith-based institutions, the cultural organizations, and more. So again, for more details, go to richmondmuseum.ca. And finally, we have Seniors Week. Join the City of Richmond and community partners as we celebrate BC Seniors Week from June 5th to 11th with a number of fun, creative activities, events, and workshops. Examples of the free and low-cost events including a kickoff celebration at the Gateway Theatre, dance and drumming classes, community walks, and arts and crafts workshops. Again, for more information, visit our website. Madam Clerk, bylaws for adoption.
Thank you, Your Worship. There is one bylaw for final adoption, bylaw number 9894, and there's noted opposition.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried with Councillor Wolf opposed. Then we have Development Permit Panel.
Thank you, Your Worship. There are two recommendations. Recommendation 1, that the minutes of the Development Permit Panel meeting held on May 10th, 2023, and the Chair's report for the Development Permit Panel meetings held on June 24th, 2020, be received for information. And number 2, that the recommendations of the panel to authorize the issuance of a development permit for the property at 8131 Westminster Highway be endorsed and the permit so issued.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, all those in favor, any opposed, that is carried. And then may I have a motion to resolve it into committee of the whole to hear delegations on non-agenda items.
So moved.
All those in favor, opposed, carried. So we have, we welcome tonight Jennifer Cowden to present on United Way British Columbia's impact in the community. Please, welcome. Please have a seat.
Thank you. I can't turn now. Thank you, Your Worship and Council, and good evening, everyone. My name is Jen Cowden, and I am one of the campaign managers with United Way British Columbia. I'd like to thank you for your time tonight, and I appreciate Council's passion and compassion to support our local community, so thank you. I am going to, for the next couple of minutes, go over some of the social issues that we hear are happening in various communities across the province, including in Richmond. And I'll also be sharing some examples of the local work and partnerships that United Way BC is engaged in to support our community. And at the end, I'll be happy to answer questions that you may have and start conversations on how we can further work together in partnership in the future. So in 2021, and I'm actually trying to, oh, there it is. Oh, heavens. Where am I aiming it? Oh.
There we are.
There we go. Thank you. Thanks, Shannon. In 2021, 6 local United Way offices in BC, or around the province actually, joined together to form United Way British Columbia, with the goal of being provincial in scope, but local in focus. Having our team embedded in local communities and strengthening connections with partners helps us remain connected to emerging needs in the social service sector, while being able to use the experience and resources of a large organization such as United Way British Columbia. Collectively serving over 4 million people across the province, supporting various local needs and community, ranging from emergent response and support for all ages and stages to addressing mental health and food security. United Way BC supports the development of healthy, caring, and inclusive communities by strengthening vital connections in the regions that we serve. We take an adaptive and iterative approach when addressing local issues. By listening to local community partners, as well as learning about needs on the ground, we are able to pivot and support the work of the local social service sector in community. Our work continues to be powered by our collaboration with government, donors, and community partners. Last year, we merged with BC 211, the BC 211 team, which is a 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, phone and online referral service that helps connect people to resources for help when and where they need them, and has done so in over 150 languages. I feel like I'm not actually controlling the slides. Our colleagues in BC 211 Network and our partners across the province hear firsthand about the needs that people in our communities face. You can see them on screen now, some of the challenges faced by communities in BC. Lack of access to basic needs and effects of inflation, the rising cost of housing, etc. These needs underline the value of working together and sharing our capacity and resources that help in our work. So on screen next, in case it's not me who's doing it, you can see a list of priority areas that United Way BC supports right here in the city of Richmond. In the past year, United Way British Columbia has invested over $750,000 in the city of Richmond in these priority areas. I'm going to talk a little bit about each of them. I promise I'll be quick. I feel like we're nearing the end of the evening. So, schools out and future leaders. These are areas where we support children in mental health and well-being, as well as mentoring youth as they prepare for their futures, offering practical work experience and teaching them skills. United Way BC partners with the Richmond Addiction Services Society and Touchstone Family Association so they can deliver to both the Schools Out and Future Leaders programs that support children ages 6 to 12 and kids age 15 to 30. We also partner with Kwantlen Polytech University to deliver Youth Futures Education Fund, which offers support to former youth in care while they pursue a post-secondary education. There are over 30 youth enrolled in KPU's 3 campuses in Surrey, Langley, and here in Richmond. They receive partial to full tuition fee waivers through the provincial government, plus we could provide them their funds for living expenses. And I just had dinner with one of those students last week. She is currently at KPU learning how to be a nurse, and then she plans to become a doctor. It's very exciting. And lastly, our partner, Richmond Cares, Richmond Gives, is able to carry out the Better at Home and Family and Friend Caregivers programs. So these programs help seniors in the community with non-medical day-to-day tasks so they continue to live independently in their own homes and provide family and friend caregivers development, resiliency, and skills and access the resources they need when they are providing the support to those local seniors. United Way BC and our partners have helped bring services to over 500 unique participants in those 2 programs, providing over 17,000 unique services. So the City of Richmond also showed up in support of United Way BC's Period Promise campaign, bringing in more than 40,000 products donated to menstruating clients of Mamas for Mamas, Richmond Family Place, Touchstone, Kelia, and Success. And we're having our 2023 Period Promise campaign right now. The goal is to raise over 700,000 period products. And that is just a drop in the bucket to what is needed. To end, I'd like to thank you again for your time and for hearing about some of the important things, partnerships, and ongoing work that's happening in Richmond. We are eager to work with your council to understand where and how United Way BC can learn from and continue partnering with staff and constituents. I have the pleasure of working with Shannon Unruh and Rena Clarkson for the City of Richmond campaign. We have partnered with the City of Richmond for 32 years, and in that time you have raised over $1.3 million towards helping those in need in the communities of Richmond, creating and strengthening those vital connections. So thank you very much, everyone.
You know, so I think that the United Way is the one campaign that we do citywide each and every year.
Yeah.
Now, you'll continue to speak to our staff about, you know, how to focus that and, you know, changes that are going to happen this year and one thing and another. I think it's in the fall.
Yes, it is usually in the fall. We're open to doing it year-round, though.
I'm sure you are.
Staff do a good job.
Yeah. Councillor Day.
Well, thank you so much for all that you do for the city of Richmond and the people who need it most. I really appreciate it. My question is, have you noticed that there's been more cases that are sort of mental health related than before?
We did see a bit of an increase in mental health, but I can tell you that for the city of Richmond specifically, the top 5 reasons for people reaching out to BC 211, for example, are housing and shelter needs. Mental health is number 2, though. And then we have health overall, income and financial assistance, and then legal and public safety.
So housing's number 1, interesting, okay.
50% of the phone calls and contacts made are
50.
to do with housing. Yeah.
People looking for affordable housing options.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Shelters as well, though. It's not just housing, it's shelters for people who are in trouble,
Yeah.
things like that.
Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming out, and I'm sure you'll continue to work with our staff, and we'll be speaking to you in the fall, if not before.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, may I have a motion to rise and report?
So moved.
All those in favor opposed?
Move adjournment.
Carried, and we are now adjourned.